What if Batman, of all people, did a little bit of Breaking Bad? This is obviously a little terrifying because even as a somewhat normal human hero, Batman is already amongst the most dangerous individuals in the DC universe, despite his no-kill rule. Just imagine what he'd be like if there was actually nothing holding him back. No rules, no morals. He'd become a pure menace. But I know what you're thinking. The Justice League wouldn't sit around and let an evil Batman do his thing, right? And it's also hard to imagine Batman actually being able to beat them if they come after him. I mean, Superman is practically invincible, Wonder Woman is stronger than Hercules, and Flash is so fast he could land a hit on Batman before he even blinks. And of course, these guys are just the start of what the Justice League has to offer. Plus, you know they are all ruthlessly competent because, for what it's worth, the Justice League has overcome a stupid number of reality-altering or even multiversal threats. Let me remind you of just a few examples. In Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Justice League took down the Anti-Monitor, a villain who was literally trying to destroy every universe in existence. In Justice League of America number 19, they handled Dr. Destiny, a guy who can twist reality and trap people in their worst nightmares using something called the Dreamstone. And in Dark Knight's Death Metal, they even managed to stop Perpetua, a cosmic being who created the multiverse itself. And Perpetua was just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to multiversal threats. The Justice League has faced so many reality-warping, universe-ending villains that it's honestly hard to believe they couldn't beat an evil version of Batman. Actually, they already have. Let me introduce you to Owlman. He's basically an evil Batman from Earth 3, an alternate universe where everything is flipped. Heroes are villains, and villains are heroes. Unlike Batman, who fights for justice and protects people, Owlman fights for chaos, control, and power. He's just as smart, skilled, and resourceful as Batman, but without any rules or morals holding him back. He's truly a dark reflection of Batman. I mean, instead of losing his parents to crime like Bruce Wayne, Owlman actually killed his parents and his younger brother to gain control of his family's wealth and resources. He then became Owlman, a criminal mastermind who rules through fear and violence. He believes that life is meaningless and only power matters, which makes him cold, calculating, and willing to do anything to get what he wants. Now, just like how Batman is a part of the Justice League, Owlman is part of the Crime Syndicate, which is basically a group of evil doppelgangers of the Justice League. We have evil Superman as Ultraman, and of course, just like how Superman is the strongest, Ultraman is also the strongest. But Owlman is still the smartest and most manipulative of the group. Yes, just like Batman is the brain of the Justice League, Owlman is the brain of the Crime Syndicate. He's the one who comes up with the team's plans, and he even uses fear and manipulation to keep his own teammates in line. Forget about being 2 steps ahead, or even 3 steps. He's always 10 steps ahead like Batman. Naturally, he's also absurdly ruthless because, unlike Batman, he has no rules or lines he won't cross. And because he's so smart, he can do things that other villains wouldn't even consider. That said, the Justice League has still managed to beat him multiple times. For example, in the animated movie Crisis on 2 Earths, Owlman comes up with a plan to destroy the entire multiverse because he believes life is meaningless and destroying everything is the only thing that matters. He builds a bomb called the Quantum Trigger to erase all of existence. Batman personally faces off against him, and in the end, Batman outsmarts him by teleporting Owlman and the bomb to a frozen, uninhabited Earth. Another example is from Forever Evil. The Crime Syndicate invades our Earth after escaping the destruction of their own Earth. But Owlman's inability to trust anyone becomes his downfall. Unlike Batman, who works with his allies, Owlman constantly schemes against his own teammates. This is what creates cracks in the Syndicate's unity, and the Justice League exploits these weaknesses to take them down. Something similar happens in the New 52 version of the Crime Syndicate. Owlman tries to gain more power by plotting against Ultraman, which makes it easy for the Justice League to defeat him. This is the thing. Owlman is what Batman would be if he was a villain, but despite how dangerous and brilliant Owlman is, he always loses in the end. And the reason for that is simple. He loses because of his inability to trust anyone. Owlman is selfish and nihilistic. He believes that life is meaningless, and because of that, he doesn't value people the way Batman does. Batman builds alliances, trusts his team, and works with others. Owlman treats his teammates like tools. He manipulates them, schemes behind their backs, and focuses only on his own personal goals. This constant betrayal and lack of unity always creates cracks in his plans, which the Justice League can exploit. Though, of course, we're not talking about Owlman here. We're talking about our Batman. And this is why, let's go back to the question. Can the Justice League stop him? On paper, yes. They've faced cosmic gods, multiversal threats, reality-warping villains, and other absurdly broken villains including Owlman. Surely they can handle Batman, right? After all, he's just one man. Why? Because unlike all those times they fought Owlman, this time the Justice League won't have their own Batman on the team. So the real question is, can the Justice League fight an evil Batman without a good Batman? The answer is simple, no. You see, Batman knows the Justice League better than anyone. He knows their weaknesses, their strengths, how they think, how they fight, and even what they care about most. As a hero, Batman keeps all this knowledge as a contingency plan, just in case any of them ever go rogue. But as a villain, he wouldn't hesitate to use it against them. Take the Tower of Babel storyline, for example, where Ra's al Ghul steals Batman's secret plans to neutralize every member of the Justice League. Even though those plans were designed to be non-lethal, they were still devastating. Now, imagine if Batman himself went bad and turned those plans into something lethal. Sneaky kryptonite for Superman, a bit of fiery destruction for Martian Manhunter, isolation and psychological traps for Wonder Woman. Batman wouldn't fight them head-on. He'd stay in the shadows, set up traps, isolate them, and break them down one by one. He'd use their emotions, their relationships, and their trust against them. And there's no way to tell that an actual evil Batman would have the same nihilistic approach as Owlman. Yes, he'd know how to work as part of a team. He could corrupt allies, recruit villains, or even turn some of the Justice League members to his side. So in order for the Justice League to stop an evil Batman, they'd have to outsmart the smartest person in the room and someone who's already planned for every possibility. By the way, Owlman isn't the only evil version of Batman in the DC universe. One of the other examples is the Batman who laughs, and we need to talk about this version because he's also just as relevant here. You see, the man we're talking about comes from the dark multiverse. In his world, Batman reaches his breaking point when the Joker kills almost everyone in Gotham, including Jim Gordon and poisons children. In a moment of rage, Batman finally does the one thing he swore he'd never do. He kills Joker. But when the Joker dies, he releases a toxin that infects Batman. And just like that, he becomes a twisted hybrid of both Batman and Joker. That's how he becomes the Batman who laughs. He still has all of Bruce Wayne's intelligence, skills, and strategic brilliance, but now he's completely unhinged, chaotic, and sadistic. No rules, no limits, and no morality holding him back. And what makes him even scarier, though, is that unlike Owlman, he doesn't have the inability to trust others. In Dark Knight's Metal, he leads an entire army of evil Batmen from the Dark Multiverse. Each of these Batmen represents a version of Bruce Wayne who gave in to darkness in different ways. The Red Death is a Batman who steals the Flash's speed and becomes a super fast and deadly version of himself. The Dawnbreaker is a Batman who gets a Green Lantern ring. The Drowned is a female Batman who destroys Atlantis and becomes a dark version of Aquaman. The Murder Machine is a Batman who merges with a robot version of Alfred, his butler. The Devastator is a Batman who infects himself with the Doomsday virus to kill Superman. The Merciless is a Batman who takes Ares' helmet and gains the power of a god of war. Every one of them combines Batman's intelligence with some kind of actual superpowers, and at the center of it all is the Batman who laughs. He serves a dark god called Barbatos who wants to destroy the multiverse and plunge everything into eternal darkness. He uses his knowledge of the Justice League to target their weaknesses and manipulate them. He even attempts to corrupt our Batman. The Justice League uses something called 10th Metal to cut off Barbatos' connection to the multiverse, which drives him and his army back into the Dark Multiverse. But in the Batman Who Laughs miniseries, he returns to our Earth with a plan to corrupt the main Batman and turn the DC universe into a mirror of the Dark Multiverse. And let me tell you how Batman wins against him. He injects himself with a small amount of Joker toxin to think like the Batman Who Laughs. Just like that, he becomes able to predict his enemies' chaotic plans. Guys, what makes the Batman Who Laughs is the ultimate what-if scenario. It shows us exactly how dangerous Batman would be if he was a villain. He's Batman at his worst. He knows how to exploit every hero's weakness and push them to their breaking point. He's even more dangerous than Owlman because he doesn't just want power or control, he wants pure destruction. But once again, the reason he is dealt with is because the Justice League still has our Batman, the good Batman, on their side. If our Batman becomes a villain without the weaknesses of Owlman or the Batman Who Laughs, he becomes a pure nightmare for everyone. Owlman's downfall is his inability to trust anyone, which leads to cracks in his plans. The Batman Who Laughs is driven by madness, which makes him reckless and overconfident. But if our Batman went bad, he wouldn't have these weaknesses that can be exploited. He'd be calm, calculated, and always 10 steps ahead. He would destroy the Justice League from the inside. He knows their strengths, their weaknesses, their deepest fears, and their most vulnerable moments. He could break them emotionally, mentally, and physically. Of course, he could also corrupt others, recruit villains, or turn some of the League members against each other. Without their own Batman to stop him, the Justice League would basically be fighting blind. Plus, if our Batman became a villain, it wouldn't just be the Justice League. He'd be a threat to the entire world, other planets, and even the multiverse. Batman knows how to plan for every situation, and without his morals holding him back, he could manipulate governments, control advanced alien technology, and dismantle entire civilizations from the shadows. Unlike chaotic villains like the Joker or the Batman Who Laughs, an evil Batman would have focus, precision, and a long-term plan to reshape everything to his dark vision. And it wouldn't stop there. Batman's knowledge of the multiverse and the weaknesses of his enemies would make him a danger to every reality. He could conquer alternate universes, recruit or destroy other versions of himself, and build an army of Batmen to carry out his plans. He'd be the ultimate strategist on a scale no villain has ever reached. In the end, Batman is Batman because of his humanity. If we strip that away, the greatest detective becomes the greatest threat. And there you have it, folks. These were my thoughts on how dangerous would Batman be if he was a villain. I'm sure you guys have a lot to add to this, and you're welcome to continue the conversation in the comment section down below. What do you think? Would an evil Batman really destroy the Justice League? Come on, let's talk about it.